Hi, this is Michael Buffer, and welcome to the BoxHard Podcast.
Hello, everyone. This is Mikey Garcia.
It's the monster from the swamps, Regis Rougarou Prograis.
Hey, what's up? This is King Carlos Molina, former IBF world champ.
This is Michael, the Bounty Hunter, 2012 Olympian and your people's champ.
This is Charlie Edwards, flyweight champion of the world.
This is Fast Eddie Chambers, and you're listening to the BoxHard Podcast with my main man, Joey Coastman.
Hello everybody and welcome to episode 298 of the BoxHard Podcast. I'm your host Joey Coastman. I'm joined as ever by the former heavyweight world title challenger himself, Mr. Fast Eddie Chambers. Eddie, welcome to the show. How are you, my man?
I'm good, my man. How you feeling?
Always good when speaking with you, same as ever. We're going to dive straight into the review part of the show here. We're going to start with a card that took place last Friday in the UK at the Bolton Whites Hotel in Lancashire. Over here, boy, oh boy. I'm going to start with the undercard, a few upsets, it has to be said. A big upset on the undercard, Tyrone McCullough, 14-1, was upset. He was TKO'd in 3 rounds by journeyman Brett Fido, who picked up win number 15. He was expected to pick up his 66th loss. He's got 5 draws. McCullough down prior to the stoppage now, 14-2. Good win for Gary Cully, who we spoke about on last week's show, the 6'3" lightweight southpaw. He is now 13-0. He was able to get Viral Simeon out of there in 3 rounds. Simeon retired on his stall at the end of round 3. Simeon now 22-6. And like I say, Gary Cully 13-0. Very, very big step up I felt for Gary Cully. And I expected it to go the distance because by far that was the best opponent on his record. That guy, very, very experienced, Simeon. Been in there, like I say, with Dennis Berenchik. He's been in there with Samuel Molina. He's been in there with Shakur Stevenson, with Scott Quigg, with Lee Selby, and all of those 3 guys I mentioned there, obviously at the very top of the sport. Scott Quigg went the distance with him. Lee Selby went the distance with him. Shakur Stevenson got him out in 1 round, which was very impressive. And here Gary Cully does it in after 3 rounds when he didn't want to come out for round 4. Viral Simeon. Elsewhere on the card, Paul Butler. He was able to drop his opponent. It was a late replacement, Willie Baldo Garcia Perez, now 12-5 with a draw. He was dropped in the first round, the replacement Perez. He got back up though, and I didn't see the fight, but it ended in a split decision after 10 rounds. I cannot believe that. Paul Butler, you know, I'm not sure what's going on with him. Like I say, it's been about 7 or 8 fights in a row now since he boxed at the top level. He is wasting the tail end of his career having these low-level fights. I'm not sure why. I understand when they do things like this with prospects. Well, I don't always, but there's a guy, like I've said many times, Thomas Patrick Ward, managed to equal the amount of wins as Tyson Fury now. He's got the longest unbeaten streak, tied with Tyson Fury in Britain out of all of our active fighters. But Fury, been a world champion twice, boxed the best fighters in the world. And Thomas Patrick Ward hasn't. And he's got there by beating guys nowhere near that level. Well, I can understand because you see a guy as talented as Thomas Patrick Ward and you think to yourself, okay, for some reason they don't want to risk it all or whatever it is. He's building up this record. When is he going to step up? He's clearly good enough to be at that level. That's what you keep thinking when you see him fight. But Paul Butler, he's been at that level. He's been I think he's been a 2-weight world champion, certainly been a champion at least once. And I don't understand what the hold-up is for him jumping back in at that kind of level. He told me he wants to be back at that level. This is a bad look for him. A split decision after 10, like I say. It was for a minor title, the vacant WBO International Bantamweight title, but I just don't understand what's going on. For it to end in a split decision, especially when the guy's coming in at late notice, especially when the guy's been on the deck in the first round. That does not look good. I didn't see the fight, so maybe the scorecards were awful, I'm not sure. Good win for Jose Uzcategui on the card, 26-2. A knockout win in round 6 against Liam Conroy now, 18-7 with a draw. Better than his record suggests, Liam Conroy. KO'd as well with a left hand. Jose Uzcategui was expected to probably win that one on points. I thought it was going to be a close fight, to be honest. But really, really impressive, like I say, for him. And a nice way to bounce back after his loss to Bolotniks, in which he looked awful. He really did that night there. And another big upset. The main event, Jay Harris, 18-2 now. He was KO'd in round 8 against Ricardo Sandoval, who's now 19-1. Harris down twice in the 8th round, both from left hooks to the body. I was really shocked by this, it has to be said. I didn't know much about his opponent here, Sandoval, until pretty much a week or so before the fight. I'd never heard of him. I did say that he had a majority decision loss, I think it was, early on in his career over about 4 rounds, so you can't look too much into that. I said he could still be claiming he's undefeated. He might be right, really, just not on paper. And Jay Harris, to go the distance with a puncher in his division like Julio Cesar Martinez, I didn't think anyone would be able to take him out. He took some brilliant shots that night and he kept walking forward and he gave it his all. But here, to get knocked out in 8, oh boy, a shocker, a real shocker. I'd like to see his opponent, like I say, Ricardo Sandoval, out again. Moving out now to Mexico. Speaking of the devil, Julio Cesar Martinez now 18-1. A TKO for him in round 6 against Joel Cordova, who's now 12-5 with 2 draws. A defense there of Martinez's WBC flyweight world title. I didn't actually see the fight. I only saw the finish, but from what I heard, I think it was supposed to have been quite close up until the finish. I don't know if anyone wants to get back to me on that, because I don't think it should have been a close fight, judging by the records, judging by the beast that Martinez has looked. But again, he does get the stoppage, even if it came a little bit later than most people thought. Moving out now to the State Farm Arena in Atlanta, Georgia, USA. Like I said last week, it was going to be the card of the week, and it certainly was. A win on the undercard for Carlos Adames, now 20-1. A TKO in the 3rd round against Alexis Salazar, now 23-4. A brilliant finish from Adames, who hasn't really had a smooth run of late. I think it was his last fight he lost, or 1 or 2 before that. He was a really bright prospect at one point, and he kind of came off track a little bit. Hopefully he can get back on that track he was on. A great knockout though. Yeah, he dropped the guy 3 times with that one shot. The guy tried to get up twice after being dropped, and he fell each time. The referee was right to stop that one there. Elsewhere on the card, a bit of an upset to some degree. Ledwan Barthélemy lost a split decision after 10 rounds against Victor Slavinsky, who's now 13-0 with a draw. Barthélemy now 16-2 with a draw. Batir Akhmedov with a good win. That was his 10th fight. He's now 9-1. He was able to get out of there. Algenis Mendez, former world champion, now 25-7 with 3 draws. Mendez gave up in the corner after 8 rounds. He didn't come out for round 9 of a scheduled 12. I really like Akhmedov. I remember seeing him fight Mario Barrios. He wore the older, experienced former champion down here, and he did well, like I say, to get that stoppage, which a lot of people try to get over that wily veteran Mendez, but they don't often achieve it. Elsewhere on the card, Erickson Lubin now 24-1. Really pleased for him. A guy that's been spoken about for a long time. Obviously suffered that bad knockout to Charlo a few years back. Since then, he's had a couple of good build-in fights, a good win against Terrell Gausha. That was the kind of marking fight, I guess, that made us go, hey, this guy still has a lot of potential despite suffering a knockout loss in that fashion. But he was back here against Rosario, a proven former world champion, and he had him down twice in that 6th round where the KO came. That one was for the WBC Silver Super Welterweight title, so he gets back in line, Eddie. Lubin now, like I say, 24-1. Jason Rosario, was he just a flash in the pan? Was he just a guy that landed a couple of lucky punches? I'm not so sure. 20 wins, 3 losses and a draw, the former world champion, but it's all about Lubin. I know you watched it. I know you're high on this guy. Tell me more.
As far as Rosario, I got to mention, he's one of those guys that, certain if you don't have enough, in the way of toughness, and I don't want to say that's not fair to say. I feel like if you can't deal with the shot he brings, that's the way he's gonna beat you. Now granted, maybe he can pressure you, because it seemed like he was trying to pressure Lubin as well and get him out. But I feel like he's not the kind of guy you would see hold that title for very long. You know what I mean? He's a guy that'll upset you or surprise you, especially if you're not well prepared. It's like you did with Julian, but I just don't think he can really hold it for very long. You know what I'm saying? He doesn't have the ability or the style. However, he's a puncher and he's tough, and he'll come to fight. He'll try to stay on his feet the best he can, but at the end of the day, I just don't think he's that kind of fighter at this point in his career. But as far as Lubin, I think the sky's the limit for him. But as you can see in that fight, he got caught again. And then most people question, does he have a good chin, or does he have this and that? Well, then if you know you don't have the greatest chin, and you don't have, that great ability to take a shot, or you're not as tough as you need to be, well, you got to find a way to protect it. I do think he has the ability to protect it, and he's an extremely professional kind of fighter. Like I don't know how to say it any other way. He's real pro-like. He's careful. He's calculated. His punches are precise. He doesn't utilize any particular punch necessarily, like over and over, and become very predictable. Even though he's, like I said, really meticulous, he still, doesn't really become really that over predictable. I mean, sometimes it can happen, but I just doubt it with him. And he's good in so many different ways. As far as from the outside, he'd be able to control. And the only thing that I saw when Rosario got close, he was able to land a couple shots, coming around the guard a little bit, and kind of buzzed him. And it was just like, damn, he may not be good at close range. I don't know how it was he got caught with Charlo, but I can't really remember. I can't remember right off the top of my head. But if it was at close range, it just kind of shows that, potential weakness for defending shots at close range. So that's something they obviously got to work on. But as far as his ability to box and his skill, his professionalism, and just overall focus on the job at hand, he's good, man. There's a lot of good about him. I really like to watch him. You know what I mean? I really like to watch him. I know to some he might not seem that exciting, but it's just little things that you see with him and the things that he does that makes you just want to see more. And I look at him and I see that.
And moving on to main event, Mario Barrios now 26-1. He was dethroned of his WBA World Super Lightweight title against the man moving up not one but 2 weight classes, really. Gervonta Davis now 25-0. Barrios down twice in round 8 and once in round 11. A fantastic fight. It really, really was. A lot of people had Barrios sweeping the first 4 rounds. I'm going to tell you guys how I had it. Round 1, a round for Barrios, just a feel-out round. Nothing really in it for me. Wasn't clear to see who had won that round. Round 2, Barrios was keeping that right hand up, just under his chin, ready to defend that signature Tank Davis left uppercut. You could see that. It's something they've been working on. It's something I'm sure Virgil Hunter had been telling him many times in the build-up. I was really pleased to see Barrios not showing too much respect to Davis as well. I believe they said Davis only landed 1 punch in that second round as well. Clear round for Barrios there, and happy to see him as well letting the right hand go, Barrios. He looked fairly comfortable. Round 3, really close round, fantastic round. I thought that the surprising thing was the punch stats, really. They said that Barrios, I think, landed 5 shots and Davis landed 3, but it was a really good round. I don't remember it being that low of a kind of punch stat round. Both guys I believe, apparently threw 23 punches each, but like I said, it looked like more to me. I actually gave that an even round. I really did. I didn't think Barrios did enough to clearly win it. I didn't think that Tank Davis did either. Round 4 I gave to Barrios. Round 5, Barrios was beginning to get backed up. He was being walked down. It was a big round for Davis. I gave round 6 to Davis as well. I gave round 7 to Barrios. Round 8, where the tide really started to turn, a 10-7 round for Davis. 2 knockdowns, both of them heavy. I felt that Tank was really trying to get his man out of there in that round. He was throwing shots with a lot of power, with a lot of bad intentions behind the shots. Barrios showed heart to get back up and continue. He looked like he was out on his feet because both the shots were headshots. Virgil Hunter was in the corner screaming at Barrios to tie him up. He was saying, tie him up, tie him up. He didn't listen at all. He decided to trade with Gervonta and go toe-to-toe. Gervonta poured it all out. Barrios survived the round, a huge round on the cards, though. And I was wondering, has Gervonta punched himself out? Because he gave it everything he could. Good advice as well in the corner from Virgil to Barrios, I felt, at the end of that round. And like I say, Barrios was showing some real character in there. Round 9, Barrios was straight out on the front foot. I just couldn't believe it. I was starting to worry, is Gervonta trying to draw him in? But no. And there was a shot that Barrios landed. It was a huge lead left hook. It landed perfectly right on the button. Davis seemed to, rock back into the ropes. He wasn't throwing any shots, Davis. It did seem like he'd emptied his tank, and it was so interesting. At that point, it was just like, wow, what a fight we've got here. It's going to end crazily. Round 10, a crazy round. Barrios, I felt, was bossing it up until he got hurt. Then he banged his gloves together. Virgil Hunter was going crazy, again saying tie him up. Barrios was dropping his gloves, waving Davis in. Crazy round. Already I wrote down possibly fight of the year candidate right here. A crazy round, seriously. Round 11, though, Barrios, for me, was winning the round despite Davis being on the front foot, looking like he was going for a knockout, loading up a lot. I thought that Barrios did the better of the work, and then Gervonta Davis lands that peach of a body shot up close. Barrios took a knee. You could see the pain he was in, the grimace on his face. He got back up. Gervonta swarmed him, and very quickly the referee jumped in. Sad to see, because I love Barrios. I am a slightly biased towards Barrios because, I've got this rule. If you've been on the show before, then I support you no matter what. And Gervonta was on the show about 4 years ago, something like that. And he's only been on once, haven't been able to get him on since then. And, Barrios has been on numerous times. So I've got a soft spot for Barrios, that is for sure. So yeah, I felt he was winning the fight at the point of the stoppage. But having said that, it would have been a 10-8 round if I scored that round there, which obviously didn't end up being completed because the referee stopped it, and rightly so. Gervonta as well. He showed a great chin, even being up at 140, because Barrios can punch. Can Gervonta be a player at 140? I'm not so sure. I think the jury's still out on that one. There are some more kind of credible, bigger guys that punch harder than Barrios. I think more kind of legit guys like a Josh Taylor, like a Regis Prograis, like a Ramirez. Those guys, I think I'd stay away from if I was Gervonta. He doesn't really need to fight those guys, I don't think. Barrios, his stock goes through the roof, I think. We did see the scorecards at the end, and the scorecards at the time of the stoppage, 96-92 twice for Gervonta Davis and 97-91. So real disgraceful cards. The robbery was being cooked there. And I like the sportsmanship from both guys in their post-fight interviews. I think Gervonta came across really well. Fair play to him. He seems like he's matured a lot in recent years. But what did you make of that fight, Eddie? Because it was a great, great fight. It's on my short list for fight of the year.
No doubt it was an excellent fight. Early on, it looked like, Gervonta was waiting too long, man. And I was like, it's one of those things where you're watching it, just like, do something more. Just give him a little bit. I understand you want to wait it out and see what the guy has, but you got to pick it up at some point. You got to get the respect from the guy. You know what I mean? And eventually, obviously, he was going to do it. And don't get me wrong, the guy has to respect him. He knows how explosive this guy is. Coming from, even from 135, the speed level is going to be slightly different too with the pace. So I'm pretty sure that he was prepared for it. But man, once he started turning it up, he showed exactly why, people are really high on him, man. Gervonta's really, really explosive, man. Really explosive. And the other kid, he was actually doing really well. Even all the way up until the end of the fight, it was like, when I saw the cards at the end of the fight, I was like, oh. You know what I'm saying? Like, I felt like the knockdowns is what really started to set it to, toward Gervonta's way. I didn't think that the fight was already, like, in control by him, you know what I mean, as far as, like, him winning the fight by rounds. I thought it was the knockdowns really set him apart, because I thought the other kid was probably won the majority of the rounds. And it's funny you said that third round, Joey, that you scored a draw. I was saying could have went either way, and I kind of was looking and kind of leaning more towards Gervonta. But aside from that, in those first 4 to 5 rounds, there really wasn't any rounds that I could give him. You know what I'm saying? So he was playing a dangerous game with it, because you never know. Maybe this kid's chin, or maybe this kid's just too big for you at this weight, and to allow rounds to go by, and for guys, I'm not saying that he could have just went and took him, but I am saying that you're going to have to put more effort forth than what he was doing. And it was funny listening to Floyd kind of let him know, like, hey, you might be down a round. And then for him to kind of get upset about it was kind of funny. But it's like, yo, when somebody tell you the truth, man, that means you got to go out there, you got to start bringing the tiger out. You got to go get him. You got to put him away, or you got to go win these rounds. At the end of the day, you don't want to give away anything in a professional fight at that level. There's an opportunity. You got belts on the line. You got future opportunities. You got your name, all of those things. So you don't want to take a chance. So I agree with Floyd, man, telling him the truth, telling him you got to go get this. You can't allow this thing to get away from you. You know what I mean? And it's easy to do that when you think you're you're just a better guy. You know what I mean? But I'm glad to see that he turned it up, showed his class, showed how explosive and how talented he is, and went ahead and got that win. But fair play to the other guy, man. The kid was tough, really tough. Took hella 5 shots, got up, still wanted to continue, and did everything he could. That body shot was really, really nice. You know what I mean? That he got hit with, still got up and fought back. He tried, and Gervonta just got him out. But good fight, loved it. If I could see another fight like that again tomorrow, I would be happy. So definitely great fight. Definitely fight of the year candidate.
Yeah, for sure. And just wrapping that card up there, I do want to say I didn't feel like I gave Lubin enough credit. I was thoroughly impressed. It was a good fight while it lasted, and a statement as well to knock out Rosario like that. And a risky fight that I don't think Lubin needed to take. So I just want to throw that in there before we move on to the next card, which is the Virgin Hotels Las Vegas, Nevada, USA. Over here, this one was on ESPN+. Let's start with the undercard. Guido Vianello, the Italian heavyweight, now 8-0 with a draw, a TKO for him in round 2 against Marlon Williams, who's now 6-2. Sam Jones, the manager of Guido Vianello, he was saying that he felt it was the best performance of his man's pro career thus far. Elsewhere on the card, Zanibek Alimkhanuly, who is now 10-0. I've got to admit, I hadn't seen him fight as a pro. He was a really good amateur. He got in there with Rob Brandt, former world champion American fighter that was on last week's show as a guest. Sad to see Brandt lose like that. He pretty much lost every round, and then they pulled him out in the corner after 8. He was down in round 6 as well, Rob Brandt, but he lost every round, and he's a former world champion. It didn't look good. Now 26-3. Perhaps one to watch as well, this guy here, Alimkhanuly, a southpaw. He just looks such a good prospect, and what a name on his resume for that early on in his career. Like I say, it was only his 10th fight. That's a landmark win there. He didn't lose a round. He ends up having Bomac pull Brandt out on the store after taking that beating. Really, really impressive. Elsewhere on the card, let's go straight to the main event. He looked as good as ever, it has to be said. Head clash in the first round, blood streaking down Lomachenko's face. He looked back to his best. It was a punch-perfect performance. The version that we didn't see much of against Teofimo Lopez, the hand speed was causing problems for Nakatani. Nakatani just too crude, too basic, and he was stopped after a beatdown. Fair enough, I felt. Nakatani was only fighting for pride at that point, and the new records, Vasyl Lomachenko 15-2 and Masayoshi Nakatani 19-2. He did something there that Teofimo Lopez couldn't do against Nakatani and got him out of there. What were your thoughts on that one, Eddie? Another brilliant performance from Lomachenko, who, for me, I think some people perhaps thought that they've seen the best of him. His best days are behind him. He's not really a lightweight. He fights a guy here giving away so much height, and it was probably one of his best performances I've ever seen.
Yeah, I agree, man. He just continues to show why he's at the top of the game and at the top of the sport. His work ethic, his determination toward just continue to get improved. And how you can improve at that high of a level is beyond me, I know. But it's just working, just keeping yourself or trying to get yourself healthy, because obviously he has some issues with injuries and his shoulder injury and different things like that. But him at his best is a scary thing to watch, man. It's like when you look at that and then you start looking back at the Teofimo fight, maybe 100%, or if the situation would have slightly different, maybe he would have had a couple fights or all this and that. What would have happened? Well, I do think Lopez has the ability to compete with him. So one thing is for sure, don't get it confused that Lopez, he was just benefiting from him not being at his best. He did benefit from it to a degree, but trust me, even if Lomachenko was at his best, it still would have been a trying performance. He would have had to been on his A game in order to really win the fight, which I still think that he was able to do even under those circumstances that he had on the night of the fight, which just says how great of a fighter that Lomachenko is. So, he's very much still a player, and I still think he may be the player in a big, even in the heavier weight class at 135. I still feel like he's still one of the guys to beat. Obviously, Lopez has got to be that guy because he beat him. But aside from that, Lomachenko just has so many tools in the toolbox. There's not a lot, there's not much more I can say about it. The performance, and you watch the defensive things he was doing, how he was getting to the side, how he was getting side access to land combinations off of that, and then how he timely throws odd combinations where it's like a 2-1. Who throws a 2-1? Most people don't even think about it like that, but he throws like a 2-1 and then a 2 behind it. You know what I mean? Which is a right hand, a jab, and then another right hand. And it's just weird combinations like that you don't expect. And it's done at the right time, at the right angle, and it lands at the point. And it's just like when you see it, it's like, wow. And his punch is coming from every angle. It's really, really difficult to defend. And then, like I said, him being able to get to the side of you, behind you, and just have you constantly guessing where the next punch is coming from. It's just one to make you just scratch your head. You don't know what to do. Fair play to the guy who he was fighting, and Nakatani, I think is his name. And, of course he was competing. He was trying to compete. He tried some things that just Lomachenko wasn't there for him. And if I'm a supporter of Nakatani's, it's just tough to watch him, because he's trying everything, and it's just still not there. You know what I'm saying? He's bigger. He's supposed to be stronger. He's supposed to be a better puncher and all of that, but it doesn't matter. You know what I'm saying? He's just better. And man, it was great to see him back in action. The fight was good, great, and great performance, man. That's all I can say.
And moving out to the final card that took place on Sunday at the Minneapolis Armory, a guy over here who I can't believe it. He's one of the quickest guys to win a version of a world title. David Morrell, now 5-0. He's picked up the WBA World Super-Middleweight title. Of course, it's some kind of regular version, so it's not the full title, but he's picked up the belt with a first-round knockout against the previously undefeated Mario Cazares, who's now 12-1. I've got to say, this David Morrell, a Cuban fighter, was a really, really, really good amateur, and now he is making waves in the pros. I'm not sure how they've even moved him into that position, but he's now 5-0 with 4 KOs. He's got a belt, and yeah, just to put things into perspective, he lost once upon a time as an amateur to Willie Hutchinson, so goes to show that it is a crazy sport. Anything can happen in that ring. On the undercard of that one as well, a couple of upsets. Omar Juarez, a really, really highly touted prospect, 11-0. He lost a majority decision over 10 rounds against Ali Rivera, who's now 22-5. Juarez now 11-1. He was down in round 9. That's a massive upset. I've heard some brilliant things about him as a prospect. Elsewhere on the card, Leon Lawson III. He was undefeated, 14-0. He lost a majority decision over 10 as well to Nathaniel Gallimore. Gallimore quite established as a pro, so I don't think that looks as bad as the other one, but he is now 22-5 with a draw as well. Elsewhere on that card, friend of the show, Alontes Fox, picked up win number 28. He's got 2 losses and a draw. It was a TKO in round 7 against Manny Woods, who's now 17-12 with a draw. That is it, though, for the review part of the show. The final thing for me to do before we wrap up part 1 is to welcome our first guest on this week's podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the former 2-time WBC Super-Middleweight world champion. It is, of course, the undefeated Mr. David Benavidez. David, welcome back on the show, my friend.
How you doing, man? I just want to give you, first of all, give you the thanks for, putting me back on the show. And, everything is going good, man. I'm very excited, very motivated for this next fight. I got a tough opponent, Jose Uzcategui, former world champion. But I'm looking forward to it, man. I'm looking forward to go back into battle.
Absolutely. We will get to that in just a second. So, David, we last spoke back in August 2020, just before that fight against Roma Alexis Angulo. You totally dominated him, of course. You also boxed in March of this year, March 13th, against Ronald Ellis. Just give me a couple words on that win, as it's your most recent one and we haven't spoke for a while.
Since the fight with Roma Angulo, I was trying to get some big fights on the horizon, but the only one who wanted to step up to the plate was Ronald Ellis. So, as a man, I got to respect him for that. And honestly, I thought I was going to get him out of there a little bit earlier, but, hats off to Ronald Ellis again. He's a very tough competitor. He gave me a great fight, but like I said, I went in there and I dominated. I feel like he only won like 1 or 2 rounds, and after that, I dominated in volume of punches, power punches, jabs. I dominated in every category and, ultimately got the stoppage in the round 11.
Yeah, you absolutely did. And, I want to get real for a second here. I'm sure you'd agree as well with what I'm going to say here. The unfortunate part of your career thus far has been the fact that you've lost the world titles outside of the ring. Obviously, you're the youngest super middleweight world champion in history. Is it a struggle to keep making 168? You've been at that weight almost 8 years now since you made your debut. Are you getting bigger? You're getting older, of course. Did you just misjudge something, before that Angulo fight in terms of the weight, or can you make the weight comfortably for the foreseeable future?
No, I could definitely make the weight comfortable. It was just, miscalculation. Seeing with COVID hit everything and just being in the bubble in Connecticut, it was just something different that I had to adapt to. Then I wasn't really prepared for. I thought in my head I was very arrogant, thinking I could make the weight, and but like I didn't have access to the stuff I usually need, like treadmills, gym, saunas, like the stuff you do at the last week. I think the last week every boxer loses the most weight, and you have to have saunas. You have to be at the boxing gym. You have to be at you need stuff over there. And then when we were in the bubble in Connecticut, it had to be in the room all day. We're only allowed to go to the gym 1 time a day for an hour a day. And so that was a miscalculation on my part. And, it was a little bit of ignorance on my part too, coming in a little bit heavier than I should have. But, I definitely paid the price for it, not only with the title, but I also paid a big fine too. So, when I got the fight with Ronald Ellis, I just wanted everything to be perfect. I was on weight. I think I hit weight that Monday of the week of the fight. So, I was very comfortable making weight. And it's just now that I see how things ran or things were going, and I knew what I was walking into going into the bubble in Connecticut. I was more prepared, but I feel like it was just miscalculation on my part and being unprepared, and I definitely paid the price for it. But I feel like I could still make 168. I mean, I'm more I'm coming in lighter in my training camps now, and it doesn't feel good, man. I just honestly, I feel like bad that I let my people down not only once but twice, and it's embarrassing. It's embarrassing, and it's also a lesson. But I feel like the good part is that I still look good. I still dominated, and I'm still dominating my opponents. Whatever happens to me outside the ring is whatever happens. But when I'm in the ring, it's I know what I could do, and I know what I'm capable of, and that's something nobody could take away from me.
No, they absolutely can't. You are one of the most exciting fighters in the world. Your next fight's been locked in for August 28th. You mentioned against former IBF world champion Jose Uzcategui. Once upon a time, Uskatagi was a guy that no one in the super middleweight division really wanted to go near if they didn't need to. What are your thoughts on him as a fighter, David?
I think he's a great fighter. There's a lot of similarities between me and him. He's a come forward guy. He has a lot of knockouts as well, like myself. But the thing that I'm looking forward to is stopping Uskategi. I pride myself in stopping fighters that have never been stopped before, and I fought a lot of fighters that have never been stopped before, and I'm the first one to stop them. So I'm looking to do the same with Uskategi, but everything has to be on point. I know Uskategi is a dangerous fighter, and I got to be very sharp from round 1 to round 12. But this is the type of fighters I want, man. These are the type of names I want on my resume, and not only these are the type of fighters I want, but these are the type of fights I want for my fans and my fan base and the people that come to see me fight. Because at the end of the day, people come to see a fight, and when you get two bulls in a ring like that, what are they going to do? They're going to turn it into a war.
Yeah, and Uzcategui had a fight 3 weeks ago in Mexico. He picked up a keep busy kind of win. Obviously, as you say, he can punch as well. He's been beaten but never stopped. He's got a lot of experience. You're always one of the best fighters in the world to watch, like I said. Is there any way that this fight can't be an entertaining one?
No, that's not. If this fight is not entertaining, man, it's just not going to be us. I'm going in there. I put fireworks on the table every time I go fight, and I know he does too. It's like it has a potential to be one of the fights of the year. That's how I feel like it is. I feel like it's the same as Eric Morales and Barrera. We're both hard hitting fighters. We're both going in there to get the knockouts no matter what. So it's going to be a very entertaining fight, and I think it's going to be in my hometown of Phoenix, Arizona. So I'm very excited to give my fans a great fight like that. So I'm looking forward to it.
Excellent, man. And I remember the last time we spoke, like I said, it was quite a while ago, I should say. Your lady was heavily pregnant. You're a father now. How is fatherhood treating you as well?
Oh man, it's very beautiful. It's like one of the most beautiful experiences I've ever felt, been through. And it's nice, man. The only thing I'll say is the hard part is, what keeps me motivated all the time is when I go to training camp and I have to leave my boy and my girlfriend, and it's very hard. But I feel like this is what makes an animal inside of somebody. When you take his loved ones away and you have to go into training camp, it just makes me even more hungry and more motivated. But my son is beautiful, man. He gave me another sense of motivation, and I was already very motivated, but just now knowing that I'm not doing it for myself anymore, that I'm doing it for him I don't see nobody stopping me. A lion got to take care of his family and his people, and that's exactly what I'm going to do.
It's a beautiful thing, and you yourself, David, are quite a sharp dresser, but I think your son actually dresses better than you. I've got to say it. He dresses brilliantly.
Yeah, I think that's what he got from his dad. He passed down a little bit, but I'm very happy, man. And like I said, mentally and physically, I'm in a great place in my life. I'm very motivated. I'm very down to earth. I'm very humble now, and I just want to be. I want to motivate kids. I want to motivate my people, and I want to motivate my son too when he gets older. And that's exactly where I'm at in my life. And I feel like there's nothing but success up from here.
That's what we love to hear, my friend. I saw a picture a while back of you, and I believe you were sparring with undefeated junior middleweight giant Sebastian Fundora. How was that, and how far do you think he can go in the sport?
He's an amazing fighter. I've been sparring him since, because we know obviously we got the same promoters. I've sparred him a long time ago, and then I recently sparred him for my training camp with Ronald Ellis. But that guy, man, he packs a punch, man. He packs a punch. He hits super hard. And he has, he's not just a brawler. He's a boxer as well. So I feel like he could be, it's imminent that his time is going to come and he's going to become a world champion because he's a great fighter. He has great people around him, and he has a great head on his shoulder. That guy is super humble. So I feel like, whenever his time comes for him to be a champion, he's going to be extremely ready, and he's going to be one of the top fighters, in the next couple years.
Well, there we go. And looking past this upcoming fight for just a second, is the Canelo fight the one you want most, more than any other fight out there, David?
Yes, sir. That's the fight I want the most. But honestly, I'm not even sure when that's gonna happen. Honestly, I feel like Canelo, he's already got plans. Another thing, I think he's more wanting to unify. I heard him talking about unifying with Arthur Benavidez. And, after Caleb Plant, so, I don't know what's going to happen from here to next year. So, but, that's fine with me. Whatever comes my way, I'm going to be ready for. I feel like there's more than one fighter. There's not just Canelo. Obviously everybody wants Canelo because they want the payday or whatever, but I'm not here for the money. I mean, obviously money is a great part of the sport, but at the end of the day, I just want to get the experience, the fans, the respect from the fans, and I want to go down in history, too. I mean, if I got to go down the same route that Canelo did and fight every other name out there, and then you get to the best, and that's what I'm going to do. But, this fight is definitely going to happen. It's definitely going to happen in the future. I don't know when, but it's going to happen, but it's definitely going to happen.
We certainly would love to see it. I think from all over the world, if you ask any boxing fan from any country, who do you want to see Canelo fight? There's not many names before yours, to be completely honest, if it's not the first name. It looks like he'll be boxing Caleb Plant. How do you see that fight going? Can Caleb cause him any problems?
Yeah, he could definitely cause him some problems, bro. Honestly, whatever me and Caleb have our problems or issues, whatever it may be, but, you can't take away the fact that he's a world champion and he's a great boxer. I think the only thing that hurts him is that he doesn't have punching power. Obviously it's easy to stop a guy that, I'm not going to say a bum, but a guy that's not really recognized or really guy that's really accomplished. And I feel like he could box Canelo the first couple rounds, but if you look at Caleb Plant starts good the first 6 rounds, 7 rounds, and then towards the end of the fight, he kind of lives himself, vulnerable for some shots, and he gets hit with shots he shouldn't get hit with. And Canelo gets stronger during the second half of the fight. So I feel like Caleb Plant doesn't pose a threat to Canelo because the only people that pose a threat to Canelo are the ones with punching power. The people that were able to keep Canelo off of him with their own punching power, and Caleb Plant is not that. He doesn't have punching power like that. But if he could box him all night and, he fights the perfect fight and, doesn't stay there at all and moves around the whole night, then he has a chance. But I think Canelo beats him. I don't think he really poses a problem to Canelo.
And just finally, David, if you've got any closing words in particular for your UK fans that will be listening to this, because you're loved over here, what's your message to those guys that support you from this side of the pond?
I just want to thank everybody from out there in the UK. And, one of my favorite fighters right now, Anthony Joshua, too, I want to give him a big shout out. I just messaged him on Instagram and, he replied. I didn't think he was going to reply. He sent me some great words of motivation. And, I would love to. That's still one of my dreams to find the UK. I've always been a fan of, Prince Nassim, Chris Eubank Sr., Joe Kawasaki. So, it'd definitely be one of my dreams to fight over there. And I don't know, maybe if we could get a fight with Callum Smith, we could get it. We could make it happen in London. So I'm very excited. And, I really appreciate, to even have fans out there, in a different country when I'm not even from. It's just amazing. It's a blessing. So thank all of you guys from over there. I really appreciate every single one of you.
You deserve it, my friend. You truly do. But listen, David, it's always an absolute pleasure speaking with you. Thank you so much for your time. Best of luck for August 28th, and I'm sure we'll catch up sometime after.
Yes, sir. Thank you, man. You have a nice day as well.
Okay, now it's time for part 2 on this week's show. This part, of course, the news part of the show. We're going to start here with Top Rank signing a young prospect. He has not yet made his debut. Obviously boxed as an amateur. He was managed by Flavor Flav. He's now turning pro. I'm not sure if he's still managed by Flavor Flav, but it is the grandson of Muhammad Ali, Nico Ali Walsh. I've spoken to him previously over DMs. He had a dream of going to the Olympics in 2020, which would have been 60 years on from his grandfather that, of course, did it in Rome back in 1960 and brought back that gold medal. He wanted to do that. Obviously, everything got delayed with the pandemic and stuff like that. He's decided that he's going to turn pro instead. He will be boxing, I believe, on August 14th. So that's going to be really interesting there. All the best to him. Really, really nice guy. And of course, Bob Arum was involved in so many of Muhammad Ali's fights. So that truly is groundbreaking stuff. I love things like that. The Joyce Takam undercard, which is set for the 24th of July, has been announced to some degree. Hamza Shiraz gets out. He takes on the Spanish Ezekiel Gurria, who's 15-1. That one should be quite interesting, I guess. Shiraz has been out in the States, in California, training, I think, in Joe Gooson's gym. Elsewhere on the card, a great fight between Chris Jenkins. He defends his British and Commonwealth titles against Echo Esserman, 14-0. That's going to be great. He's coming off an injury, though, Esserman. The fight's been delayed once or twice. Also, a good fight between the undefeated Chris Bourke. He defends his WBC International against James Beach Jr., who's 12-1. Decent fights on that undercard. Also, no opponent just yet, but David Adelaide gets out again. And George Fox as well, the son of Don Charles, gets out again. And Charles Frankham, he has been inactive for quite a while. He gets out again on that one. Again, tickets on sale now from £50 to $300 for the VIP hospitality ones. Elsewhere, a part of the Fury Wilder 3 undercard has been announced. Obviously, the main event, the third fight between Fury and Wilder. But on that undercard, the rematch between Adam Kalnacki and the Nordic Nightmare, Robert Helenius. So we shall see how that one goes on. And also, Efia Jagba returns to the ring, takes on the unbeaten Frank Sanchez, the Cuban, who looks about 55, who I think is about 28 on paper. That is a really good fight. Also, we get to see Jared Big Baby Anderson as well, friend of the show. He gets in against the undefeated Russian heavyweight Vladimir Tereshkin. So 4 heavyweight fights on that card as it stands. Moving on, though, to the preview part of the show. We're going to start here tomorrow night at the Sheffield Arena car park in Yorkshire, United Kingdom. Over here on the undercard, we have the lady that hosted the show with me a few weeks ago. We said she's going to be a regular panelist. However, the schedules have been a bit difficult to get right because of this. She is making her pro debut. Hannah Bagley, 4 2-minute rounds against Borislava Goranova, who's 11-66 with 4 draws. I know a lot of people will be tuning into that. All the best to Hannah, who I think a lot of you would have seen her post a picture this week wearing a BoxHard Podcast t-shirt. Like I say, they are everywhere. You can find them pretty much in every country over the globe now. On the main event, Jack Massey, 17-1. He takes on Engin Karakaplan, who's 14-7 with 3 draws. One of the top light heavyweight, cruiserweights. He's a cruiserweight. One of the best cruiserweights we've got in Britain. That's over 10 rounds there. Moving out now to the card that takes place in the States. I'm not sure on the undercard just yet. What I've seen, it's quite light, so I'm guessing there's more fights to be added that haven't yet been put up. So what I do have so far is, let's start with the main event. Chris Colbert, 15-0, defends his WBA interim world super featherweight title against Tuxdot Nyambiar, 12-1. The one loss came by unanimous decision to Gary Russell Jr. back in February 2020. He is a brilliant fighter. This was supposed to be Colbert against Uriukis Gamboa. This is a better fight. This is such a hard fight for Chris Colbert. I really like that fight. On the undercard, the prospect Michel Rivera, 20-0, the Dominican fighter. He takes on the Spaniard John Fernandez, 21-1. Should be okay. His one loss came to Oshaki Foster. But anyway, that's it for the preview part. We did part one, of course, with the review part of the show, and we had a guest. In part two, we've done the news there, of course, to begin, and we've just wrapped up the preview part of the show. The final thing for me to do is to welcome our second and final guest on this week's podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the former WBO Super-Bantamweight world champion. It is, of course, Mr. Isaac Dogboe. Isaac, welcome back on the show, my friend.
Thank you, sir.
Always good when speaking with you, Isaac, and that is the truth. Thank you for asking. So, Isaac, we last spoke back in October of last year. It was just after you'd been announced to fight Michael Conlan. Of course, that fight never ended up happening. Conlan broke his foot, I believe it was. We haven't spoke since then, my man. How have things been?
That goes great. Everything has been well. You know, and listen, I must say that it's always great to be on your show. I mean, you're a top guy, and you know, I have so much love for you, my guy. So keep up the good work that you're doing, man. Really appreciate you, man. Yes, it's been great, you know, so far. We thank God for everything that has taken place. Obviously, I just fought a few weeks ago. You know, so everything has been great. You know, I'm working for my team and everything, and yeah, I just been relaxed.
And I appreciate those kind words you say, and I'm happy to hear you've been relaxed. Obviously, you're living in Florida now. You boxed in Las Vegas 2 weeks ago. You're currently speaking to me from Washington, D.C. What are you doing over there? You running for president?
I mean, listen, man, nothing is impossible, you know. But yeah, I'm here in D.C. because this is where this is my base, you know. This is where my team, you know, my training team, everyone is at. So it made sense for me to just to base out here, so I could be closer to my team and, you know, just keep working year round.
Absolutely, and like we said, 2 weeks ago you boxed in Vegas against Adam Lopez. I predicted a points win for you. You got the points win. Some people think Adam Lopez deserved to win. Some people felt it was very close, could have gone either way. How did you assess your performance, Isaac, particularly towards the end of the fight?
Well, listen, in this fight, yeah, Adam Lopez was a champion. And plus, he was on the A side, and I was on the B side. I came in as an opponent. You get what I'm trying to say. So I mean, him making all the noise, saying how he feels that, you know, he deserves the win, and all sort of things. Listen, I believe that from the first beginning, you know, I was having more success. You know, I dominated. You know, I boxed him, and just walking somebody down doesn't mean you're gonna. You know, you have to hit a person. You know, obviously he called me some clean uppercuts and things like that.
Isaac, you just sound a tiny bit muffled.
Yeah, I was saying that I dominated most of the earlier rounds. You know, and you know, with him being the A side, the judge must have seen the fight differently. And obviously I do understand, and I do know that, you know, there were some rounds that were fairly even, and we could have gone either way. But more or less I was throwing the cleaner punches, the cleaner and harder punches, you know, towards the ending of the fight. You know, I got a little bit tired, but hey, it's part of it. It's part of that. It comes to it because I was working. You know, I came in there to win. I came in there to hurt my man. You know, so I wasn't going to leave it last minute before I was going to turn the heat up. You know, the plan was to turn the heat up from the first beginning. And that's exactly
I thought particularly early on you were really good. You know, he couldn't really hang with you, to be completely honest. Towards the end, I'd say the last three rounds, round 8, 9, and 10, I was really worried, thinking, what's going on here? Obviously, we've seen you go 24 rounds with Navarrete. That fight was a lot tougher than the 10 rounds against Lopez. But obviously, like you say, you got tired. You know, the fight I feel was quite close. It's probably one of the best fights of this year, to be completely honest. It was packed full of action, but I don't think it should have been. I wasn't really expecting it to be that close. Is that fair to say?
I think that's the reason why people are, really making like a big deal out of it, And I do understand, when you are someone like me, there are always a lot of expectations, And listen, I do welcome constructive criticism. I believe that I'm always learning, and I always have to learn. I have to have an open mind, to learn more things and to listen to, what is out there and take out the positives, the good things out of it, and, flush out the negative aspect of it. But, listen, boxing, you can't really sleep on nobody in boxing. Some journeymen have knocked out prospects. So you can't really sleep on nobody in boxing. Some may say that, listen, he's not your class or whatever, but at the end of the day, he fought Valdez, and he had, I think, 2 or 3 fights prior. I fought last year, and it's been like a year. It's been, I think, almost a year since my last fight. Before my last fight, So, listen. Like I said, I thank God for the victory, and I thank God for the support from the people. Obviously, like I said, there's always room for improvement. And I went back, I watched the tapes, and it's true, I could have made this fight very, very easy, very, very easy. But hey, what happened, and sometimes we just have to accept the fact that we have to just take it as it comes, and next time correct certain things, just so that we don't make life too hard.
Yeah, and you're right in what you say. You were coming off 11 months inactivity. Before that, you were also coming off, I believe it was 14 months inactivity. So you've been very kind of inactive of late. I know that you were excited to be boxing on the Tyson Fury undercard in London, December 5th against Conlan, which obviously, didn't end up happening. And then you didn't get out, like I say, for 6 months, which was only 2 weeks ago. You boxed in Vegas on an Inoue undercard, which I still think is a big stage, but not boxing in London, not boxing on that big heavyweight undercard with Fury and the rest of it, and all your friends, I'm sure, coming to the fight in London. Did that kill any motivation that you had in any way?
Not really. Listen, this is a profession, It would have been great to fight on a huge card like, on another card of a big name like Tyson Fury. I believe that would have been massive, and but unfortunately it didn't happen because my opponent had an injury. But hey, it's something that happened. It's a natural occurrence. You can't really pull his leg for getting an injury. We just have to leave that episode out and really focus on what's important, what's ahead of us. Obviously he went on to fight somebody else, and I fought somebody else as well. But hey, it is what it is. The fight here, though in a way was the main event, I believe that we saw the show, and we delivered the promise that that we said that we delivered the promise. And many people were happy with with how the fight was, was intense, and how it was all action, and I'm happy, I can sleep at night knowing that I went in there and gave my all, and the fans were happy about it, the spectators, the TVs and TV networks, and everyone, was really impressed by how we conducted ourselves and how we,
And what is next for you, Isaac? Like we say, you had the one fight in 2019, the one fight in 2020. You've had one fight in 2021. Will we see you again in the ring soon? We're all hoping so.
God willing, very very soon. According to my co-promoters, Top Rank, they're looking to getting me out there.
Okay,
before the
we look
year.
forward to that for sure. I want to ask you this one as well, Isaac. You've had enough time now, I guess, to kind of settle in at featherweight. A lot of people think you're too small for featherweight. Are you just like too big for 122, but maybe a little bit too small for 126, and therefore caught between two weights? How do you see that situation?
I believe that I can contest in both weights. I'm more than happy to do so. Given the fact that now I'm working with a nutritionist, this nutritional company, perfecting athletes, and my weight cut in my last fight was so smooth, man. Listen, I've never had no easier weight cut than my last fight. And I have to say a big thank you to perfecting athletes, for the great job that they did with me. And I thank God that, I met them, because, I think at the weigh-in I weighed, I think 125 point something or 124 point something. And I was eating and drinking. Usually it's not like that, So I was really, really happy, with how everything, came about. But hey, I'm always open, I believe that they said that they can get me down to 122, but I'm not making no promises, Right now I'm comfortable at 126. So let's see what.
And Isaac, I heard you mention about a third fight against Navarrete. Now, I understand that if someone was to ask you, I believe if I ask you, do you want to fight Deontay Wilder, you wouldn't say no. That's what fighters do. They'll fight anyone. But is that a fight that you feel you need to have? I mean, you've been in with the guy twice. You've done 24 rounds. Is that a fight that needs to happen? It's obviously a tough fight.
Well, listen, I think a lot of people ask me this question, and my answer is always the same thing. All my answer has always been this. He has moved up weight to 126. I'm also in this same weight division. When I become a mandatory, he can't avoid me. So it's inevitable for us not to fight. That one is a simple kind of, it's a simple thing. It's a simple calculations, knowing that I'm climbing up the ladder and he's a champion, and it's obvious. Once I get there, it's bound to happen. But I don't feel it's a need. I don't feel I need to fight him. I want to fight him, because I'm the type of person where, when somebody gets the better of me, I go back. I go and prepare myself better, and I come back again. That's how fighters are. Pacquiao and Marquez fought so many times. So, I mean, he beat me twice, but it doesn't mean that when I become a mandatory, I'm gonna be like, oh, I'm not gonna fight him. No, that's not my job. My job description is go, prepare, come and fight, and God willing, I knock my opponent out and take the title, or win and move on. That's what it is, and that's his job description. We are fighters. We can't, it's about the best fighting the best. He got the better of me in the two fights. I believe that I'm getting better. I'm learning from, a lot of the things that didn't go too well. I've made a lot of changes in my camp. A lot of changes in my life, and I believe, it's all part of, the rebuilding process, of
and
Isaac.
Another brilliant fight that's taking place in your weight class is upcoming August 7th. We're going to see two Brits fighting each other for the vacant IBF world title. Kid Galahad against Jazza Dickens. How do you see that fight going, and do you have an interest in either of those guys? Because I like you matched up against either of those two. That's great fights here in Britain.
Yes, listen, I'm down to fighting everybody. I want to be the best, I want people to remember my name. I want my name to be on the lips of people, not just in England, not just in Ghana, not just in America, but in the whole world. And and for that to happen, I have to fight the best out there. That's always been me. You call me for a fight, you see me there. So I wish both guys all the best of luck. I think I've watched Jose Dickens before, and I've seen a fight or two of him. I've seen a fight or two of Galahad as well. And listen, I wish both guys all the best. I hope they put up a great show. And listen, the winner.
Yeah, that's a fight I'd love to see. You against a winner in the UK would be unbelievable. And just finally, Isaac, before we wrap it up, if you've got any closing words to the listeners that could be listening from anywhere in the world, leave us with some wisdom as you always do, my friend.
Yes, sir. It's just something simple, As you go about your daily activities, always just remember that, Rome was not built in a day. You have to take life as it comes, day by day. And I always make this make this statement that when you look at the birds in the sky, they do not, they don't have a house and storage and all these things. They live day by day, but God watches over them. And with that being said, I would like everyone, to have a peaceful rest of the year and be safe out there. Protect yourselves and have an open heart. Give your friends and families, check up on them. Because a lot of people are going through so many
Beautiful words, Isaac. It's always fantastic when we wrap it up. You always say some magical stuff, my friend. It's a pleasure to listen to. Listen, Isaac, it's always a pleasure speaking with you. You know that. Thanks for your time, and I can't wait to see you fight again in the very near future.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, and this wraps up episode 298 of the BoxHard Podcast. I've been your host, Joey Coastman. Eddie Chambers has been with me for the duration of the show. A massive thank you to our two guests on this week's podcast, the former two-time super-middleweight world champion David Benavidez and the former WBO Super-Bantamweight world champion Mr. Isaac Dogboe. If you didn't realise it, we did have some technical issues in the Isaac Dogboe interview. There was a delay after every question I asked him, and in return, it meant that whenever I spoke to ask the next question, it for some reason on the recording came in about a second or two early. So I can assure you that I wasn't talking over Isaac Dogboe at any point in the interview. The interview was totally normal and respectful, of course, but on playback it sounded like I repeatedly kept speaking over him to announce the next question. Like I say, this wasn't the case, and after a lot of editing there was nothing I could do to change the sound, so I apologise for that if it was quite annoying. There has been one piece of news break whilst we've been recording the show. Michael Conlan will be boxing in Belfast, the homecoming for him, on August 6th against former world champion TJ Doheny. That should be quite interesting, I guess, despite Doheny losing last time out to Baluta, the guy that Conlan last time out beat, but he didn't have it all his own way, so it could be interesting there. But that's about everything from myself. Enjoy your weekends, people. Stay safe. Thanks once again for listening, and we shall see you all again next week.